This sporting great showed at an early age tremendous potential as a pentathlete. Concentrating on javelin throwing, she broke the Commonwealth record in 1981 and went on to break the world record when she won Olympic gold in 1984. She's the longest performing international athlete on earth. She is Tessa Sanderson. The longest performing international athlete on earth.
Sounds like I'm from Mars, doesn't it?
Sounds as if you're about 76, doesn't it? It's some accolade.
Yeah.
Goodness me. But as well as that, the career is truly remarkable. 6 Olympic appearances for Great Britain, the most for any British female athlete.
Yeah.
But you were born and you were brought up in Jamaica,
Yeah.
not England. Tell me about life there.
Well, I was born in a little village called St. Elizabeth. It's way down in the country in Jamaica, way outside Kingston. And I was born to Murphy and Leonard Sanderson, who I've always said in my life, you know, thank God I've been born to parents like them, because they've always been behind me in absolutely everything that I've done, support and all that. But I grew up with my grandmother and my grandfather, and if you know, sort of like, get to know the Caribbean way of life, a lot of the people in the 50s, let's say, their kids would have been left to have grown up with their grandfathers and grandmothers, because your parents had to sort of leave and go and find work, and mine was one of those that they call the boat people that came to England to try and find work, and in doing so they still sort of like, you know, sent money back to help look after both my sister and myself and look after my grandparents, really.
Sounded though that it must have been harder for your parents than it was for you.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, when the sort of news came that I had to leave and come to England, I mean, I ran up in the hills and I hid, because I thought, my God, you know, how can I leave? Here's my parents, really, my grandma and my granddad. How can I leave? But then the thing was, I really wanted to be with my mother and father as well. So when we actually came and arrived in Manchester of all places, I mean, it was foggy, it was snowing, and, you know, the first time I saw smoke coming out of my parents' mouth, and I thought, what's going on here? And it was freezing. I've never seen snow in my life. It was just something else to take in.
Were the athletic seeds already sown by the time you got to England, or not?
No, because we did a lot of sports in the sense that young primary school kids would do here. Those are beanbag races, the egg and spoon races, but nothing really further than that. I really started taking an interest in athletics when I started my senior school here, around about the age of 12, you know, 13, and then I just sort of did touch base with a number of different sporting events and enjoyed it.
Where did your initial talents lie?
Well, at first I did a number of things. Pentathlon then was like the 5 events, which you had high jump, hurdles, long jump, I mean everything. And it wasn't until about 15 that I accidentally fell into throwing the javelin, and yet again it was for food, because one would expect me to be really big. But what happened, it was sports day was upon us, because you know we have sort of your home in-house sporting day at school.
Yes.
And there was this girl called Noreen Morgan, and she was tall and lanky, and we called her Noggin. I don't know why we called her Noggin. And we had this bet that the one that won the javelin at the inter-schools sporting day would buy chips for the whole week. And then it was like 6p, 2.5p then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, well, you know, my parents, I'd be saying, look, I need 2.5p. And then it was a lot of money. So I didn't really want to spend my pocket money in the week to buy the chips. So, I mean, I had to beat her. So I trained and trained and trained. And on sports day, I beat her. I won and qualified for the English schools. And that's how it all started.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
I tell you what, it wasn't long before you were at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
1976, and that was in Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal, my first Olympic Games. It was fantastic for me because it was the first major before the Olympic Games, the qualifying, and I went to Crystal Palace and threw really, really well.
She leads at the moment with 54 metres and 84. It's 179.10, just fractionally short of the 55-metre qualifying distance. But that, of course, she already has. And that one, yes, that's over. That's over 55. It floated a little and we thought it was coming down, but that's around 55 metres. And that could be a United Kingdom record. Oh, yes, she's done it. She's running away. She's very, very happy.
And I won the qualifying. I thought, yeah, this is going to get me there, but you weren't sure. And then it was about a week afterwards, having run to the post box every morning and trying to think, God, it's here, it's here. It didn't come. And then it finally came, the invite for me to go, actually, to the Olympic Games. It was fantastic. It was a dream that I'd always dreamt of, but when I actually got to the Games, I was a bit disappointed. Not because I performed badly, because I threw a British record to get to the Games, and a British record to get into the final. But I imagined the Olympic Games then to be like a fairy tale. You know, here's Cinderella at the ball now. Everything's going to be wonderful. But we had a room where there was like 8, 10 of us. There was bunk beds. I've never slept in a bunk bed in my life.
It's like a barracks.
Yeah. Yeah. And you lost all your clothes because there's so many girls running around. So I wonder we wore the right kit outside, you know. And the village atmosphere was quite nice, but it was just sort of overcrowded. The buzz wasn't there, you know, that I really wanted to feel, that initial thing of being special at a Games. I didn't really get that feel.
You had plenty more opportunities to practice with Olympic Games.
With 6 Games, yes, I did, because the next one after that was Moscow.
Now that didn't go too well. That was a bit of a disaster, wasn't it? Moscow.
That was a total disaster. And I think one of the things that we have to realise is that when you go to an Olympic Games, you have to be fully composed, mentally and physically. You have to feel right. You have to more or less tell yourself that you're going to win. You're going to have to really drill it in yourself. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to compete. I feel, you know, or I am the best in the world, so let's go out and fight. And I went into Moscow being ranked third or fourth in the world. And I really felt, okay, things is going good. You know, I've trained hard, I'm healthy, I feel okay, everything's going to go right. But also, one of the things that I didn't really envisage was the fright now of actually coming to realities about and to terms about other competitors, other nerves. Because remember, in '76, I was ranked, you know, 10th, 12th, way down the line, but this time I was further up. And I remember coming into the first round of my competition, and I thought, come on, you know, it's got to be right, I'm ready now, let's go. And I threw it, and my javelin went whoosh up in there and came down, almost came down, tail first. And I thought, oh, no, okay, just keep calm, let's go back in there, because you only get 3 throws to qualify when you come to a Games in the qualifying rounds. And I kept composed, and I kept quite calm, and I thought everything's still going to be okay. Came back on my second round, and I hit as hard as I can. And it was like someone just opened the door, and a gust of wind came through, my javelin went whoosh, and it went right out the sector, and I thought, oh my God, one more throw. What am I doing? What is going on? And panic set in.
Tessa Sanderson, 1 throw remaining to achieve the qualification, 60 metres to get herself into this final. She said before these Games the injury was absolutely clear to the right elbow. No problems at all. She seems to be hitting the javelin at the wrong angle. And now she has this 1 throw. Oh, it's badly floated down, and that looks like Tessa Sanderson out of the Olympic Games. What a disaster for the girl who promised so much. Every one of these 3 throws, exactly the same problem. Another no throw too, in fact, looking very closely at that slow motion, the right foot on the line, and so she had 3 no throws, despite the fact that the javelin didn't get any further than about 50 metres on any of the occasions. Now, it really is a disaster for this British girl. And what can one say?
The moment I released the javelin, I knew it was over. I knew it was over. And it went up in the air, and it almost came back at me, and it landed something sort of like 6 to 10 metres below the qualifying. Totally devastated, shocked. And I went and I sat in a little tunnel at the end that they had by the side, and I think it was Peter Snow at the time who was sort of doing some things out there with you know, ITN, and he came over to me and he started talking, and I was so tearful that I couldn't really get my words out because it shattered me, and I thought, well, this is not happening, it cannot happen. I also felt at the time that my whole life had gone down. But it's all about experience as well.
Sure.
And
but was part of the experience, I mean, obviously it was a long journey home from Moscow after all of that, but I mean, when you came home, did you not decide, right, I'm going to tackle these nerves? I mean, physically, you were obviously up to it.
Well, the thing is, you know, I'd already made up my mind that I had to tackle these nerves when I came home, but then, you know, the press started setting in. From then, that early age, the media started moving in and saying, how can someone who'd thrown 68 metres could only throw sort of like 56 metres and things? And then they said that my mum was at home crying, and then that made me cry even more because I felt I'd let her down. It was just the worst time for me. And there was nothing I could do apart from when I got home, I went inside my family's house, my parents, and that was fantastic, and started, you know, reviving myself again. So it was a difficult time.
What was the single most important factor in that revival?
It was actually going out and taking another competition a couple of weeks after that, and not feel frightened to go out and face actually my other competitors and face the people who had been writing and saying you'd failed. And to see the actual world, the word failure, you know, written on newspaper about yourself, it's very hard to take.
Well, you may have been a failure, but you were a very glamorous failure. It had to be said.
Oh, thank you.
Because whether things were going right or wrong, was it important for you to look well?
I felt it was. I'd always said to myself, first and foremost, I'm a woman, and I love being a woman, and I think it's nice when guys whistle, you know, and you think, oh, you know, somebody likes me here. Then, I mean, there was a lot of women athletes in those days too, and even some who I found are a lot muscular than myself, and I think there was no need for them to be that big as such to throw the javelin.
Yes.
And also a lot of people would class the field event as being women as being sort of big, and they expect you to be big and not
and
to look
manly.
nice and short cropped hair and masculine and all that. And I wasn't that way inclined, and really it's all about inside what you feel like, and I felt great as a woman inside, and I wanted to show outwardly that, you know, I could dress feminine and you know, and like the boys as well.
Okay, so you were feminine. Were you also catty? I'll tell you what I'm getting at.
Yeah, do tell me, Eamon. I'm waiting for this one.
When were you aware that, I mean, there you were, the queen of javelin throwing for
Oh, you're
Britain.
so nice.
But when were you aware that there was a princess over your shoulder, that Fatima Whitbread was breathing over your shoulder?
I think it really hit home for the first time in 1983. And that was coming up to the first World Championships in Helsinki. I'd been injured in 1981, where I ruptured my Achilles tendon and really broke my throwing arm, because at that time I was still doing heptathlon as well. And although Fatima had been throwing well, this was going to be sort of like the showdown between Fatima and myself so far, the big showdown. And she had been throwing very, very well. And we're both, she was creeping and creeping and creeping up. And at some time she had beaten me in some competitions. And when we got to the World Champs, and she beat me in that one, and she threw very well also. Tina Lilak won that one on the last round, and Fatima came through and performed very well in that. I thought, yeah, you know, there's someone else here. There's someone else I've got to really watch out for. You know, she's going to be a tough competitor.
But the way it was billed was that basically you couldn't stand the sight of each other. You didn't get on well. I mean,
that was true.
Was it necessary for you to be rivals? Why couldn't the two of you sort of respect each other's sort of situation and say, we could do this together. We could be a great force for the country?
I have to admit, you know, I wanted to at first, but then it did become in a way a little nasty, and I don't really think it was Fatima's fault. I honestly do believe that it was the people in and around Fatima, because years before that, when she'd went through a bad time and had an injury, I wrote to her and I said, hey girl, you know, there's only the two of us, let's get on there and do it. Don't sort of say you're not going to compete anymore, because she did write to me and say, look, you know, what am I going to do? And I said, look, I wrote back to her and said, look, you know, don't give it up. Hang in there, you know, we can do it together. But then as she became closer to myself and beat me in a few competitions, and of course the family started taking over, i.e. her mom, and then there was Andy Norman, who was the promoter for British track and field, and he then of course became Fatima's boyfriend, is now a husband, and You know, I'm happy for them. But at that time, he was really giving me a hard time, a very hard time, because he was blocking my competitions, and so Fatima could get in and throw on these comps instead of myself. For the trials as well, the Olympic trials, you know, he put up so much barriers for me. And then the situation started overlapping onto Fatima, you know, like, say, like father like son, or like mother like daughter, let's say. And then she became sort of like distance, I felt, from you know, the friendship that we had, and also I think a lot of friendship with the team as well. And so the rivalry started setting in, and I didn't mind it being a rivalry on the field, but outside of that, you know, we hardly spoke sometimes. I remember on one occasion, so I'd went to a competition and I'd say, "Oh, hi Fats, you know, how you doing?" And she didn't really say anything, and I thought, oh God, you know, this is going to be one of those days again. But I'm glad to say that situation is resolved now. But the rivalry was good for us. I do believe that it's always good to have rivalry in a competition, even if it's with someone who's from your own country, because it drives you to bring out a lot that you might not think you had inside you. It also keeps you trying. It also, you know, keeps you aware and keeps you on your toes, so feeling, well, you know, they're going to be there trying to kick your butt, so you better make sure that they don't.
Well, certainly the press loved the rivalry, and it gave javelin throwing attention that it had never received before.
At one stage they accused us of throwing handbags at each other. Hers is bigger than mine.
But when, I suppose, I mean, and when you say how it motivated you or pushed you, when it really mattered, 1984, you came up trumps.
I remember it was coming up to the Olympic Games, and although I'd ruptured my legs, I was still training. I was doing a lot of weight training, so I got much stronger. I went to Hungary to train with a coach over there, Miklas Nemeth, and we worked so terribly hard together, and I made sure my technique was to the T, because I knew I wasn't going to be as strong as the rest of the girls, but I also knew that I had one great thing on my side, and that was I was a good technician when I went out for my competitions. And we actually got to Los Angeles, and for me, it was the first time I really thought, hey, I'm at the Olympic Games.
And that's looking very good. Oh, it's just short of 70. And Tessa Sanderson's opened with the big throw this time, not Fatima Whitbread. Tessa, the British record holder, who's been over 70 metres, has performed well here.
She's got the winning throw in the bank, and she's got to take her final throw. And this is a girl who started her career, an international career, at 16 years of age. And for almost a decade, she's been in the headlines, and in the last couple of years she's just been in the shadow of Fatima. But this is going to be her night tonight. Tessa Sanderson, her sixth and final throw, and it wings its way out. It's been a lovely long series. It's not as far as her first, but who cares? She knows it and we know it. The gold medal is hers, and that's history. Fatima the first to go over, and what a pair these have been for British field events, and for throwing in particular. A magnificent night here. A gold medal in a technically difficult event, a demanding event. The girl who put British javelin throwing on the map takes the gold in Los Angeles.
Everybody expected Fatima to win, really, and if not, Tina Leela, the world record holder at the time, but this was my turn, and I took it. It was great. My dream had been realised. It was great.
Well, let me ask you, did you then enjoy your Olympic success, your Olympic gold, in the year or so?
I did. You know, I'm sure a lot of people haven't done this, but what happened to me afterwards, you get all these little people coming around in their white cloaks. You know what those are? They want to dope test you.
Oh, right, right.
And after I got on one event, someone came and collared you, and they followed you all around and everything like that. And I got on the podium, and the person who was presenting me with my medal said, "You've done well and done yourself proud." And I went, "Oh, thank you," because I couldn't talk. I was so choked from this. And the national anthem had played, and everybody was sort of singing "God Save the Queen" before they started even playing this thing. And then the person who was doing the dope tests took me away, and I was there till 12 o'clock that night. I could not go in this little bottle. I was there at 12 o'clock at night. And I thought, oh,
And you
God, it's
couldn't
not
leave
gonna
until you did.
I couldn't do it, Eamon. And so when it finally happened, I rushed up to my room and I was shouting, girls, 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 girls. No one was there. Eamon, they'd all gone out to the disco. They didn't wait for me. I was totally shattered and upset. I had nobody to show my medal off to as such. But you know what? And the funny thing was, do you know what I did? I didn't go out with any of them as such. When they came back, I didn't meet up with them and all that, because by then I was in bed. And I slept with my medal on my chest.
You and your medal.
Yeah, I slept with my medal on my chest. I don't know to this date, for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I thought, well, I was so scared that anything might have happened. It might have got lost in the night or something really weird or stupid like that. But it was just so close. You know, I wanted it close to my heart. It was mine. And then the next morning, the door knocked, of course, and in dived everybody on my poor little bed and just saying, great, great, darling. And it started to ring home then. Hey, I won. It was mine.
It was. It
Yeah.
certainly was. What about the year that followed? How did that medal change your life?
Tremendously. In the sense that it opened a lot of doors for me, because after I came back, after winning the gold medal, I didn't have a job. And before I went to the games, I was working as a secretary, as a typist. And when I got back, the company who had sort of allowed me the time to go and train and everything like that made redundant. I was made redundant, actually. The company went into liquidation, and so I lost my job. I had no sponsorship, and there I was with this great gold medal, and I thought, well, how am I going to survive? So it was then that I made the decision, I'm going to sort of work for myself. I'm going to sort of, you know, gather everything together, starting reshaping myself, you know, just getting into a promotional field, which I have done. It gave me a lot of confidence as well to sort of put one foot forward in places where I thought, well, it may be a bit sort of dodgy, but let me have a go. And it led me into the PR world. So to work with TV, work with radio, I went out and did bits and dabs for interviews and, you know, various promotional things.
Now, was all that a temptation because it was working, because you had this public profile and whatever, and basically you had 3 Olympic Games behind you, for goodness sake. Was the temptation to say, well, you know, I've been there, I've done it, I've got the gold medal, you know, let's just put that behind me now and go on to something else?
No, not really, because although I'd won the gold medal, yes, I suppose you are right in the sense that I'd won the medal and I thought, well, everybody stopped now after they've won their gold medal from an Olympic Games. There's nothing else to win. But I still felt there was a lot of competitiveness in me, and not just in the arena, but outside the arena.
What happened at the Seoul Olympics?
The Seoul Olympics, oh, that was a sad time for me. That brought a lot of things home to me as well, because I fell injured. I was ranked second best thrower in the world going into Olympic Games, and on the morning of the it was 3 days before the qualifying, I came out to do a training session with Sharon Gibson and some of the other throwers and shot putters and that. Came up the javelin run-up and my Achilles tendon snapped, and there was just blood everywhere, and it was crazy. They stitched up my leg, and somehow or another I felt I really wanted to compete.
Are you
still.
telling me literally your leg split open?
Yeah, the back of my ankle just snapped open, and it was like, actually, yes, someone from another planet, because all the tissues just came out the back of my leg, and I still didn't believe that I wasn't going to compete. So I don't know, it's like going into another person. They stitched my leg and I had them sort of strap it right up to here, and I actually went out and tried to compete.
This third and final throw to qualify for the final of the javelin. 56 metres and 70 she has so far, but that's down to injury, not a lack of ability. Now, what will she do here? Will she let it go? Will she really hit one and risk it? Very few strides. And she may well have got into a better position, but it's well short of the qualification distance, and she may well be out with that.
God knows how I did it and why I did it.
It was another 4 years, wasn't it? You'd been training for that moment, and that was that.
Yeah, and so that was a total disaster.
You know, I tried my best out there, and there's nothing more I could do about it. Technically, it was quite hard for me because obviously I couldn't get my legs, you know, running properly, and I should be there watching the rest of the other girls, and hopefully that they're going through and do their best.
Then, we're not finished yet. Right,
Yeah.
after Seoul came what? Barcelona, 4 years after that.
Yes, I know.
Was it beginning to dawn on you that, you know, how is my body holding up to all of this?
Well, because I'd had so many years out before with injury, I thought, okay, you still feel fit and you're getting on 30-something. it's getting a little bit shaky, but I was still, you know, competitive in myself. And I went to Barcelona thinking, yeah, everything's going okay, you know, I want to get a medal. I'm not sure whether I'll win this time, but I want to get a medal. And if, please God, everything goes right, yeah, it could happen for me. And I got there, enjoyed the games, got to the final, and I'd finish 4th place, just missed out on the medal. So, you know, I felt great because I think I'd done myself justice, but by then I decided it was time to retire.
Right, naturally enough.
Yeah, it was time to retire because I wanted to go into another field and do other things like I'm doing now.
Why then did you change your mind and come back?
Because, Eamon, because what happened after Barcelona, I'd been out 4 years. I hadn't jogged, I hadn't done anything, hadn't been to the athletics track, hadn't been to a competition. I was just doing a lot of promotional. I run my sports management company. You know what it's like looking after athletes and things like that. And then a number of kids took it upon them to go to certain people and say, look, we'd really like to start this charity called Children in Hospitals, and we would like Tessa to head this campaign to try and raise £1 million for 19 sick children's hospital. Do you think she could make a comeback at 40? So I took maybe a couple of months out to really think about it. I went back to Jamaica. I secretly took a girlfriend with me, and bought a medicine ball out there, and I was throwing it again on my mum's wall in Jamaica because they've moved out there now. And I felt okay. I jogged with the kids out there. I felt okay. And then when I came back, I answered them and said, yes, I would take up the challenge.
And she has a best of 58 metres and 86. That was her first round throw, 56.80 a second. It didn't get quite behind that. And it's well short of that 62.5 metre requirement. Now, she's in 7th place at the moment with 58 metres and 86. And this, remember, is in Pool A, in Group A. And there'll be another group to come. And 7th place in this group may signal her demise. We don't know yet until we see what the overall standard in the other group is.
Unfortunately, I didn't come back with a medal and didn't make the final, but I achieved the goal that they wanted, that was to raise a certain amount of money and to make the Olympic Games at 40. So that was a challenge for me. But after that, the javelin had hung up and the boots had hung up. No more.
Are you sure?
Absolutely certain. Absolutely certain.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
No more.
6 Olympic Games.
No, it's 6 Olympic Games. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it, but there's other things to my life.
And there endeth our story, Tessa Sanderson. It's been an amazing journey. We wish you every success in what lies ahead. And if you do it half as well as you've done on the track and field, it'll go very, very well indeed.
Thank you.
Lovely talking to you.
Thank you.